Hey there everyone. Today we're going to take our first steps into learning CSS Animation. Let's get started. Welcome back everyone. Today we're going to continue in our series with web development and continue with CSS animations in specific. Hopefully, if you've watched the previous videos, you'll be able to take in the material we've learned with selectors and just standard CSS syntax and apply it today for CSS animations. Now, one of the things about CSS animations that you'll notice throughout this episode is that it follows a different rule set from what you usually find in CSS. And with the Keyframe Ruleset, which is what we'll primarily use for CSS animations, we'll actually set a rule set like I had just stated. Now, a rule set is different from a selector like an ID or a selector like a class, just because here we're actually going to be using a new symbol for our syntax. The @ will allow for us to create something that's similar to a function in a way, and with this we'll be able to go ahead and tell our computer or our website that we want to start an animation through the rule set of keyframes, and here we'll have our name. So let's go ahead and actually dig into how we'll make these work. So before directly jumping into things, I want to go ahead and highlight the setup that we have going on for you to be able to follow along. And all we're going to have today is a header with an emoji in between, just so that we can use this little character and move him around. We'll give it the ID of emoji, and then we'll call that ID just to raise the font size of our character. And with that, let's go ahead and start discussing what exactly a keyframe is and why it's called that. With CSS animation, what you're really controlling is the movement of a certain element within a certain series of frames. Now, one thing, thankfully, that is the case with CSS animation is that all that has to be is a simple from, referring to the beginning of the animation, to a to. With these two variables or names, we can go ahead and create a transition that is from start to end with nothing else in between, changing one to multiple variables at once. Alongside this, we also have the tool set of being able to control things on a scale from 0 to 100%. With this, we have a lot of control in terms of timing, and we'll actually be able to control how long our animations take, as well as add things in, such as delays to our animations, just in case we wanted to time them up with the other animations in our web page. So with that, let's go ahead and actually dig into the syntax again, just so that we can get this working and see this in motion. So to begin with our animation, what we'll first do is add this keyframe rule set. So all it will be is @keyframes followed by the name for your animation. For today, we're going to be doing emoji dance. And just like anything else in CSS, we'll follow it along with some brackets so that we can contain the code for what we're going to be doing. And to begin, we're going to start with that from and to example I had brought up earlier. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and write from, and this will be the clause and or the line of code that will allow for us to tell the CSS the starting point for our code. So to begin, I'm going to go ahead and set the font size to what we currently have it set as. Following this, I'll go ahead and hit enter. And within these brackets, just as a note, we will be continuing with standard CSS syntax. So you'll have your property, a colon, property value, and then the semicolon. Following this, on the next line, we'll go ahead and type out to. Same thing here, go ahead and set a bracket, and if you'd like to just make it a little prettier, you can go ahead and add a little space right there. Here inside, we'll go ahead and recall the font size property so that we can change it. And in order to do so, we'll go with 20 EMs. We'll make this little cowboy emoji a lot larger. Now, we have it set, and really, our animation should be starting. But before we do so, I'm going to show you guys how we can actually get these to work. So previously, the reason the animation didn't play is because we hadn't set anywhere in our code to actually have this play. None of our elements, currently the only element, has no rule set to follow the keyframes we had just set. And in order to do so, we have to set two CSS properties inside of any selector we have chosen. So in my instance, I'm going to go ahead and adjust my emoji ID, and with this I'll go ahead and type out animation-name. And with this I'll go ahead and add the property value of our keyframe animation. So emoji dance. With this we'll follow with the second property, which is the animation duration. So animation dash duration followed by a, let's say, 4 seconds, and in order to do seconds in this case, we'll type only an S followed by the semicolon, and like that our animation starts. So with that, we have the two basic parameters for any animation. But what if we want to make it loop? So to get this to play multiple times, let's say a certain amount of times or infinitely, what we'll do is actually set in another rule or another property known as animation dash iteration count. And with this, we can go ahead and set a variable that is specifically a number of any type. And with this, we'll go ahead and do 3, just for this example. And like this, we'll go ahead and see that our animation will play 1, 2, and then 3 times. But actually, I'll just go ahead and set this to infinite. And like with that, we have an infinitely looping animation for any element, anything you can really think of inside of CSS. So alongside this, as a final property value that plays into this keyframe CSS animation playbook, is the animation delay. So with this, we'll go ahead and set animation delay, and we'll set it to 2 seconds. Like that, we can stop our animation from playing for 2 seconds and get it going. Maybe this could be used for timing, or this could be used for a certain type of tooling. In either case, whatever instance you need to use it for, I'm glad to have shown you this property. So with that, to really wrap things up, the key things about animations are that a key thing to note about these animations is that you're not tied to a single property to change as well. So for example, we can go ahead and set our background color and set other properties as well. But with this, I'll actually go ahead and show you 2 final key things to know when using keyframes in CSS. So as our final topics to touch on for CSS animation is 1, yes, we can put multiple variables in here. Also, alongside this, as I stated earlier, we don't have to stick with just a from and to. We can go ahead and set different sizes in between. So I'll go ahead and set my 0%, my 100%, and then I'll actually add a 50% in between. And for this one, I'll go ahead and copy this real quick just to paste it on the line in below. And here I'll actually have it shrink before it grows. So you'll actually see that you have control at any point in between those 4 seconds that you set. And really what this allows for us to do is have full control over the entire animated element inside of our web page. So with that, I hope you've been able to follow along, and I hope this will be a useful tool in your web development kit. So until then, have a nice day.